Now, I'm not one to highlight fashion faux pas because I believe fashion should be fun and it's a great way to express ourselves. But there are some common mistakes that we often make that will always make us look older than we actually are. I turned 52 last week, and while I don't want to look like a 30-year-old, I also don't want to look any older than my years. And I suppose I just want to look the best version of my 52-year-old self without looking silly and out of place, if that makes sense. So if you'd like to overhaul your style for the better while still looking youthful, then just keep watching. Now, before I get started, I'd just like to thank June's Journey for sponsoring this video. Now, if you haven't heard of June's Journey before, it's basically a super fun, free game that you can play on your phone. It's a murder mystery style game and it's set in the 1920s. And you play a character called June. Now, June is trying to figure out how her sister was murdered. So you go from scene to scene and you're given the task of finding specific objects. And those objects end up being clues that help June figure out what happened. It's technically challenging and it's also really relaxing to play, which is why I love playing a couple of games when I'm in bed at night before I go to sleep. It's also totally free and it's available on Apple and Android devices. And if you're interested in downloading the game, I have a link down below for you to do that. So check out the description box below so you too can download your free June's Journey game and get amongst it. So a big thanks to the guys at June's Journey for sponsoring this video. Now, let's just get on with my tips. Now, I'm a huge fan of vintage pieces and retro styling, but the one mistake that you can make is incorporating those pieces into your current outfits without sort of making them relevant. And yes, we know that fashion is cyclical and trends do come back around again, but usually those trends have been tweaked a little and changed. So we just need to be mindful that we're not actually just incorporating old pieces into our current look, because that is a really easy way to make us look a little dated and older than we actually are. Now, none of us are the same throughout our lives. We generally tend to change and evolve, but often what happens, we don't evolve and change our fashion. We tend to get a little stagnant. We often sit in a fashion rut where we perhaps felt our absolute best and not pushing ourselves and getting a little bit outside our comfort zone, trying new things, trying new looks, and yeah, just kind of moving with the times a little bit. It's all about just evolving your look just a little bit at a time so that you still feel like yourself, but you look current and more up to date. I always have this theory that when our accessories look tired, so do we. So it's really important to make sure that our shoes and our jewelry and our accessories are well looked after. Often these pieces get overlooked and they end up looking tired. We throw them on without thinking. We're used to wearing them. They become part of our wardrobe. And if they're tired and worn, that's exactly how we're going to look. So be mindful of those accessories and keep them up to date and well cared for. Wearing structured clothes is also a way to keep you looking more youthful. Now, I know that it can be really tempting as we mature to dress more in loose-fitting, baggy clothes, but the problem with this is that it just gives us no shape and no sense of proportion. I know it's tempting to cover up our sort of problem areas, whether we are feeling a little fuller around the hips or waist, but covering up and just draping ourselves in baggy clothing just tends to make us look heavier. So my advice is to always choose structured pieces over shapeless garments. And on a very similar vein, often as we age, we tend to cover up by wearing maxi dresses. And maybe we're not feeling quite as confident about our legs, but a maxi dress, unless you are super tall, can actually drag you down and make you look shorter and wider and just frumpier. Now, midi-length skirts and dresses are really in fashion at the moment. Now, these are skirts and dresses that that finish at your mid-calf. Now I would say if you're mature and unless you have super thin legs, you have to be really careful of anything finishing at mid-calf. All that does is highlight what is generally the widest part of most of our legs. So instead of that midi length, I would suggest going for a length that is just above your knee, just below your knee, or just up from your ankle. But really be careful of a full length maxi dress because it can just drag your whole look down and make you look frumpy and heavier than you are. Okay, most of us love to reach for those black pieces in our wardrobe because they are slimming, they're flattering, they're easy to style. But generally as we get older, wearing too much black can really just make our skin look sallow and pale and just make us look older. It can also make us appear a little more lined, and it just doesn't do anything to kind of give us a sense of brightness and lift our look. But what you can do is break up black pieces with adding statement necklaces or scarves or just something to actually break it up. So just be aware that while black is a very flattering color in terms of slimming your figure, it can be really too severe as you age. The other thing that we often get wrong as we get older is just not managing our outfit proportions. Now what I mean by this is balancing a looser fitting piece with a more tighter fitting piece. So if we're wearing a looser, baggier top, it's always more flattering to wear pants or a skirt that's more fitted on the bottom, or vice versa. So if we're wearing a more fitted top, it's always more flattering to wear a fuller skirt or wide leg pants, and it's just sort of creating that balance. Sometimes it's easy to forget this, but proportions are really important to not only make sure that we have a really good looking outfit, but to keep us looking youthful as well. The other thing as we get older is not falling for color trends. So as we know in fashion, color trends come and go, and these colors may be amazing when you see them, when you walk into store and they're clothing hanging on a rack, but if they don't work for us and they don't flatter our skin tone, then they're really not doing us any favors. Now I'm not suggesting that you go out and get your colors done and spend money trying to work out exactly what you wear. What I am saying though is trust your instincts. If you try something on, you should immediately know whether it feels good and it makes you look good. So trust your instincts and don't fall for color trends, because it's really important as we age to make sure that we wear colors that are flattering. And the only way for us to know whether a color suits us or not is to try it on. Now there's nothing wrong with following the trends as we mature and dressing in really up to the minute pieces, but often what I feel is really important is that we're not a slave to these trends. It can make us look a little bit try hard and a little bit like we are trying to relive our youth. So when it comes to fashion trends as we mature, I think it's really important to stick with classic pieces and then pair them with some on-trend current looks. This may seem a little counterintuitive, but I also think it's really important not to pigeonhole ourselves when it comes to fashion as we age. I think it's important to ask ourselves the question when we're trying something on, whether it's appropriate for our age and stage in life. But asking ourselves the question and being limited by that are two different things. So I suppose what I'm really saying is trying not to fall into the trap of preconceived ideas of what a woman of a certain age should wear. We still need to remember that fashion is about fun, it is about self-expression, and within reason, I think as we age, we should still have as much fun as we've always had with fashion. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would love you to give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel for more, and I look forward to catching you in the next one. Bye for now.